Hello everyone, welcome to the new class. Today we will discuss about the conditional operators and about the logical operators, and we'll see how the if, elif and while statement works in Python. So if you have not watched the previous videos, you might not get what's happening out there. So I'll put the link in the I button somewhere here, and you can go to the playlists and access the whole playlist. So do watch the previous videos in the playlist so that you get a better view of what's actually happening here. So today we'll start first with what we call a generator function. Now, a generator function is generally which is used to generate something. So now we'll talk about the range function first. So let's say I write a range of 10. So range is an inbuilt function in Python. So once I press Control Enter, it says it has generated a range of numbers from 0 to 10. But what are those numbers? What is it generating? And how is the range function working? So to check out what exactly it has done, what we will do is we will print a list. By now you should know how the list function works. So we'll say, give me a list of whatever it has produced between 0 to 10, right? So here we get a list from 0 to 9. So whenever you generate a numbers using the range function, it will exclude the upper bound. So when I say, give me a range and produce a numbers between range 0 to n, it will produce number including 0 up to n minus 1. So here we have 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. So it gives us a list of numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's how your list of range functions. Now, if you want to generate some numbers and you tell me, I don't want to start from 0, I want to start from some other number. So let's say we start from 3. And when I say, give me a list of range of numbers from 3 to 10, it gives me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, excluding the upper bound. So therefore, we use the range function to generate a number. And if you want to look what numbers are being generated, then you get it through the list. Now, by default, there are actually 3 arguments to range. It is range from A to B, and then you define the number of steps. So by default, the number of steps is 1. So if I say list range 3 to 10 with a step function 1, so it will generate 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So therefore, this is the step argument, the number of steps which you want to take. If I say 2, it will generate 3, 5, 7, 9. So list a range from A to B with n steps. So you can always define the number of steps. If you do not define the number of steps, it's by default 1. So now, since this is out of the picture now, let's move further. And now let's see if I want to produce a list with a range, not from 3 to 10, but from 10 to 3. What do I get? I get an empty list. Now, why do I get an empty list? So when you say you go from 3 to 10 and by default, you give it a step 1. So you are moving in the forward direction one by one. But when you go from 10 to 3, you are going in the backward direction. So starting from 10 in the backward direction, from 10 in the backward direction, but then you're giving the step as 1. So it's going in the backward direction, but the step is 1. So there is a direction conflict. Therefore, you need to give the number of step as -1, that you go from 10 to 3 with a step of -1. And once you do this, it gives you a number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, but 4. So it will exclude the upper bound. Here our upper bound is 3. So therefore, whenever you generate a range of functions, range is a generator function, which is used to generate a certain set of values, right? Now, one thing which I want you to know is that if you pass this command and you say, give me a list of range of numbers from 10 to, let's say, so this range function only works on integers. If you say, give me on a float, it will give you an error. Float object cannot be interpreted as an integer. So therefore, you can only generate numbers between an integer to another integer. It won't work on float. If you want to go and generate the numbers through floats, this can be done. So there is this function called arange function in the NumPy library, numerical Python library, which we will study further when we go in the next lectures. So it can be done. So 10 to 3.5 using arange in the NumPy library. But right now, let's just see that we are generating numbers only between integers. So now I hope the range function is at least clear for you. Now we move to a very, very important function, and this will be the most comprehensive video on this single function alone, because this is one of the most important functions that you will come across use doing any work. And here I'm talking about for loop. So to loop between a list of numbers, we use for loop. It is a very, very, very important function. So let's just try to get through it, how for function actually works and how we can use it for different things. So let's say we generate a random list, and our list is, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 23, 4, 5, 5, and any numbers. So we generate a list. I mean, we define a list and we give the values to the list. Now I'll say for every I in L. What does it mean? So for every I in the list, when I say I in the list, the first is 3, 4, 5, 6. So it will keep on going one by one in the list. I told you in the previous video about indexing in the list. It will start from the index 0. So for I in L, first it will take index 0, then index 1, then index 2. So it will loop through the whole list one by one. And when I say give me I, it will give me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the lists one by one. So it starts from I. For every I, it starts from the first index, and then it goes through whole list and keeps on printing the numbers. So it goes, say 3, it prints 3. Then it goes 4, prints 4, goes to 5, prints 5. So that's how it goes. Now, one thing which you need to understand is that this thing is called indentation, and it's very, very important. If I run this command without indentation, it will tell me expected an indented block. So two things are very necessary. First is your colon. If I don't put a colon, it says invalid syntax. So your for loop always ends with a colon, but even after colon, it seems to have an indented block. So what you do is you just press enter, and it by default has an indent. And when you run this command, it's able to run the command. So the syntax is very simple. The indentation is what you need to take care of. And you might have seen, if you are from any other language of C, C++, or Java, you are always working with curly braces. So you would define curly braces, and in between curly braces, you will define all your commands. So there is nothing called curly braces in Python. It's just the indentation which it takes care of. And if you are from some other language, you would be used to writing your for commands in a certain manner. For example, if you are from Java, you will say for uh, integer I is equal to 0, and then you would say I is less than equal to some condition, and I plus plus. That's what you generally used to do in Java. But you do not need to pass so many commands and iterate through so many commands, because that's what Python is. It's very, very simple. It's just simple English language. So I'm just saying that for every I in the list L, give me the list of all I's, and it gives me the list of all I's. So once you know how this is working is, now let's say I want to add 2 to all these lists. So for with 3, I want to add 2 to 3, 2 to 4, 2 to 5. To every element in the list, I want to add 2 and display it as a list. How will I go about it? So let's say I say for I in L, print I plus 2. So you can always define your mathematical function between these braces. You do not need to go further anywhere. So you do not need to declare any other variable and then put it out here, though you can do that, but for such simple tasks you should not. Now when I say print I plus 2, it gives me a list of 5, 6, 7. So what it does is, for every I in the list L, it's adding 2 to it. So first to 3 it adds 2 and gives me 5. To 4 it adds 2 and gives me 6. To 5 it adds 2 and gives me 7. So it will go through each individual element and add 2 to it. But this is not what I wanted. I wanted a list of numbers which will give me all these numbers in a list so that I can use the list for all my further arguments and all further functions. So now what I will do is, we will declare first an empty list. Let's say we have an empty list. So I declare this empty list. Once you say M and you just have 2 square brackets in it, it says it's an empty list. Now, once I have an empty list, what I need to do is that I will say for all I in L, for every I in L, now there is one function. So to this empty list, append. So append is the function which will append your list. I'll tell you how it functions once you write the command. So we'll say append. You take every I in L and to M append. Append what? Append I plus 2. And then when you run this command, it actually runs, but it is not showing you anything because you have not told Python what to display. So once you move down, because it will work in the for loop, you get out of the for loop and then you say, give me my M. And it gives you a list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 25, 6, 7, 7. So what this append does is, for every I in 1, it will append I plus 2. So it takes 3, it adds 2 and appends to the empty list. So the first number is 5. Then it takes the other number 4 and then adds 2 to it and append to the already list. So there is already 5 here, it appends 6 to it, and then it keeps on going on further and further and further. So it will keep on appending whatever operation you have given to an empty list, and therefore append becomes very important when you look at from that purpose. Now, if I want to do the same thing, but I want to use a range function, how can I do that? So I'll ask you all to pause this video and try to do this using your range function. So pause the video, have a try, and if you're not able to get it, then again resume the video. Okay, so let's start. So I say M is an empty list because I'm defining it again, so it will overwrite whatever is written previously. So I'm saying M is my empty list, and for I in range of len is used to find the length of the list. So when I say for I in the range length of the list, so what is the length of the list? It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for I in range of length of L, range of 9 will give me 0 to 9, which will keep on going from, so just like it, range of 10 gave me 0 to 10, range of 9 will give me 0 to 9, and my list will become 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my range of length of L will give me the list which I need, and then I can loop through the same list again and again. And what I'll say is, now 2M append L of I, which is your index, and then you will just add 2 to it. And then once you run this command, and when you say out of for loop, give me M, it gives you the again same thing. So it's doing nothing, but for I in the range of 9, it will generate 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So append L of I. So L of 0 is nothing, but in the list L of 0 is 3. So it will pick up L of 0 as 3, 3 plus 2, 5. And then L of 1, 4, 4 plus 2, 6. So it will keep on looping through 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till it exhausts the whole list. And once it exhausts the whole list, it will come out of the for loop and print your list which you want to generate for it. So that's how you generate another list from whatever list is already there. It comes very handy when you deal with data manipulation later on in the series. So now we have done this. Let's try to do something else. And I will just copy this command. And let's say, so now what we want to do is inside a for loop, we will have an if statement, right? So inside this for loop, you press enter, and then you say that if my I is greater than or equal to 10, then go on and do this function. So I'll say m dot append I plus 2, and for all I in L. So for all i's in L, if I is greater than 2, go and append m. To m, append I plus 2. And once we run it, oh, sorry, invalid syntax, because after if, there has to be a colon, and then it has again to be indented. And then it gives you 25. Now why it gives you 25? So in all the list, what we had, there is only one element which is greater than 10. So we say that for I in the list, only if I is greater than equal to 10, then append I plus 2. Now, if I say is greater than equal to 25, it will give me an empty list. So therefore, because there was nothing greater than 25, so that's how you can also append your if statement under your for statement. So in the for statement, you're like, okay, give me this numbers and then append whatever is greater. Now let's see and deep dive a bit more into the if statements. I mean, for is pretty clear for you now, I guess. You just write for I in something, and then whatever you want to do, and then the result you append to an empty list. That's how you generally go around with the function. You can also do this using list comprehensions or mapping functions, but since it's an introductory classes and since it's for the beginners, I will not ask you to go through that route and understand the basics first. So now let's say our s is equal to 10, and I say if my s is greater than 10, then print that yes, it is greater than 10. So you see the command is executed, but nothing is printed because it's checking if s is greater than 10, then you have to print something. But s is not greater than 10, what to do next? It knows nothing. Therefore, it executed the command, but did not give us any output. Now, if I say s is greater than equal to 10, then it will say, yes, it is greater than 10. So therefore, you need to be very clear about what you are giving as a condition to the if statement. Now, let's say I do this statement itself, and then I say that, okay, so for else if, we use elif. So if, elif, 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 else. So if, then else if, else if, else if, and if none of the command is satisfied, then you give an else statement. So I say if s is greater than 10, print yes, it is greater than 10. Else if, let's say s is less than 50, then print yes, less than 50. Now, since our s is 10, it says that s is greater than 10. No. So this block is not executed. Then it moves to the next block of else if, and it says, okay, s is less than 50, yes is less than 50. And then it prints, yes, it is less than 50. So it will loop through every single block and then give you a result. So you write if, elif, you can write other elif s is greater than 11, print yes more than 11, or whatever. So in this way, you can write as many elif conditions as you want to. So it will execute the first block. If not satisfied, next block. If not satisfied, next block. And then it will keep on going further and further like that. And once you want to say that, okay, uh, let's say s is equal to 50 and s is greater than 11. Now, none of this is executed. Now you want to say that, okay, if none of this commands is satisfied, then go and otherwise print none of the above. And it prints none of the above because it's neither greater than 10, non equal to 50, non greater than 11. So you see there is all if statements, there's a column, there's an indentation. You move out of this block, go to another statement, elif, another block, another elif, another block, else another block. So you need to just make sure that you have colon after every situation or every condition which you are giving, and then there is an indent to it. Because this way your code is structured as well, and it if it's not in that way, it gives you an indentation error at the end of the day. So let's move to another further interesting thing. So now I think you know how to execute if and elif statements as well. Now let's say my list also has some strings in it. Let's say tbd actuarial. So if I say my so this is my list, and it contains now two strings as well called tbd and actuarial. Now, if I only want to print the strings out of this list, how can I do that? Pause the video and try to do it yourself. If you're not able to do so, resume the video and then you will see. So again, creating an empty list, that yes, we have an empty list now. Now I'll say for every I in this list, it will loop through every I in the list, only append if my type of I, if the type of I is string, then only append it and now we see so invalid syntax. Okay, so I have given more space in equal to. Yep. So now what it does is it checks the type and it checks what is the type of every I in this list. And then it appends it to the empty list. So the only string types are TBD and actuarial. So we kind of slice out this list and take out only TBD and actuarial. So you can always loop through these statements again and again and reach at a point where you get what you are looking for. So now, because if you're not able to understand how these things work, go and check out the previous videos. I will put the link in the description below as well, because you need to understand all these things, how it's working with the indexing, how it is checking the type. And I have explained all of this in the previous videos. And I think I've covered most of the for loops, if and elif statements as well. So now let's move a little further, and let's say apart from if else, there is one other thing which I want you to understand. That is a very important statement when you are connecting databases and want to finish at a certain point. and that is called a for else statement. We talked about if else, now we have a for else statement. You will not encounter these in other languages, it's in Python itself. So this is called for else. So let's say we have a list 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then I say that in this list, let's do for I in L. So for every element in the list, whichever is present, print I. So when I execute, it prints everything 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it just ends here. But if I say else, so if you do not find anything in the list, once you have exhausted the list, you print for me that the list is finished. And then you see, you will get a list is finished after it has went through all items. So it's kind of a check that your last statement is correct, because once you're connecting to a database and you need an endpoint, it kind of gives you an idea that you are ending at a correct manner. And that's where you can kind of use the for else statements. It's nothing but for every item in the list, once you exhaust every item, then print this. Or if you don't find any item, then print this. So this becomes useful when you are connecting directly to your databases. Now to the last topic of this video, we'll do a while statement, which is also an important concept. So let's define any numbers. Let's say our D is 10, our S equal to 0, and I equal to 1. So I've defined these three numbers here. And now I'm saying while my I is less than equal to D, while my I is less than equal to D, which means while my I, which is 1, is less than equal to 10, so it will keep on iterating through it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, till it satisfies the condition less than equal to D. So let's say we want to print the sum of first 10 numbers. I'll say while I is less than D, give me S is equal to S plus I. So I'm doing nothing, but I've defined 0. So 0 is equal to 0 plus 1. So this is the first item. And then it go to the second item. Then it will come 0 is equal to 1 plus 2. So it will keep on iterating through all items. So starting point is 0. So while 1 is less than equal to D, you take 0. 0 is equal to 0 plus wherever I you are on. So for 1, it's 1. For 2, it's 2. For 3, it's 3. It's 4, it's 4. But S will always remain 0. And now, what will you say is for I, for every I, just keep on going. I is equal to I plus 1. So you can also write as I plus equal to 1. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that it means I is equal to I plus 1. Now let us see what it gives us as a result. So we'll see, okay, give us the sum. So the sum of numbers is 55. Sum of first 10 numbers is 55. So while 1 is less than equal to 10, you want to print it in the S. Therefore, you start with a 0 and it will keep on looping through. So now if you want to see the intermediate steps, yeah, so we'll do it within the loop itself. So I'll say, while you're looping, just in the statement, keep on giving me S and I. Yeah. So now you'll understand better. So what it starts with is, it starts with 1, I is equal to 1. So 1 is less than equal to 10. Therefore, I plus 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then it goes that, okay, now I have the number as 2. Now, 2 is less than equal to 10. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And then it prints 3. And then 3 plus 3 is 6. And so it goes to the next number. So then 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. So it takes the number, it iterates through it, and then it says that, okay, if this condition is satisfied, I'll go and again iterate through the statements which are identified, and then give whatever you're wanting to me. So when it reaches 11, it says 11 is not less than 10. So therefore, it prints whatever is the last statement, which was our S. So we are storing in our s plus whatever we are iterating through. So that's how your while function works. You have a statement function, and then whatever you want to print, and then whatever you want to loop through. And if you want to check the intermediate steps, it's print s and I together. So this was a very comprehensive video on the for, if, elif, while statements. So these are very, very important once you start doing your other actuarial work, and you will need it a lot when you are doing it through, let's say, data manipulation or any other kind of work. So I hope you like this video. If you enjoyed this video, just share, like, and subscribe the channel. And I'll see you in the next video with some more content. And we're slowly moving towards our libraries, which are NumPys, Pandas, and Matplotlib. But once you understand all these things very carefully, you will be able to do a lot of stuff in Python, a lot of stuff. So I'll see you in the next videos. Till then, enjoy and also check out the playlist. I have put the link in the I button and in the description below. Thank you, everyone.